Hey, good looking. Thinking of picking up the new Pat McGrath Labs Luxe Quad Eternal Eden? Maybe I can change your mind. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Kendra Morgan Official, and if you're new here, I like to put out content weekly centered around makeup brushes that aren't Morphe, single eyeshadows, and sunscreen. So if you like that kind of content, make sure you subscribe. If I'm your vibe, subscribe. Okay, let's get started. Today I'm going to be featuring a dupe version for the Pat McGrath Luxe Quad that is coming out January 29th to own. I really fell in love with this color story, folks. So if you guys also fell in love with it, then let's try and see if we've got something in our collection that can dupe it. And if you just can't get enough of Pat McGrath's formula and you think you can't live without her formula, stay tuned because I have a special treat at the end. I think we can dupe it with some of Mother Pat's formula. So stay tuned. So I'll be using brands from Looxi Beauty, Makeup Geek, and Coastal Scents to dupe these shadows. It's only going to cost $6, folks. Can we do it? Can we do it? I don't know. I'll also give you guys swatch comparisons to Mother Pat's swatches and then my swatches as well. Give you guys a rundown, close-ups of the single eyeshadows and swatches as well. Give you guys a little mini tutorial, and then at the very end, some cost savings and a little bonus. See if I can't use some of Mother Pat's formula to dupe this palette. Okay, so let's get started. I want to go over the shadows that I used to dupe the Eternal Eden palette. For the first shade, Pink Mystic in Mother Pat's palette, I used Dollface by Luxe Beauty. Pat describes her shade as a light pink with shimmering gold flash in it, so kind of a gold undertone, and Luxe Beauty fits that description perfectly. Gives it that peachy pink with a champagne to gold reflect undertone. The next shadow that I used to dupe is Mango Tango by ColourPop, and just like Pat states in her shade Temptation, being a muted matte magenta. That's exactly how I would describe Makeup Geek's Mango Tango. I think it's a little bit peachier, a little bit more vibrant, but I think we are still capturing the essence at this point. For Earthly Delight, that mid-tone cool matte brown is how Mother Pat describes her shade. I chose Coastal Scents' Burnt Umber. It took a couple swatches, but I did achieve the shade. Now, I went and looked through all of my Makeup Geek shadows, and I did get really close with Aphrodite, but Aphrodite's formula is very dry. And Marlena Stell of Makeup Geek has stated in the past that she really likes a drier formula for some of those mattes to be able to stay on the lid. So if you want some staying power, I suggest Makeup Geek's Aphrodite or whatever comparable shade you can get in the square pan. That's what I would suggest for you. Okay, lastly, the Forbidden Fruit is described as a rich pink bronze metallic. I did have some problems finding a really good shade. I looked and searched high and low in my Sydney Grace shadows. I actually don't own anything like that in my Sydney Grace shadows. I got really close with one of the shades, but it leaned too orange, and that was my difficulty. I could find shades that were beautiful forms of copper, but I couldn't get that pink bronze that Pat McGrath Labs put in hers. So for that, I chose Victorian Ruby, and that kind of it looks a little bit more matte on the swatch, but then when I show you my finger after swatching the shade, you can see that pink bronze metallic shift in the shade. So as far as how it might perform on the lid, you might have some differences there. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and scoot over here, show you guys Pat McGrath's swatches, and then I'm gonna go ahead and show you my swatches. I hope I lined them up correctly, and I hope I stated them correctly, because in the quad, it's not exactly how she swatched. She swatched, I think, down maybe, or maybe she went across. I'm not exactly sure, but you get the drift. Whatever I described and whatever I swatched is whatever matches on hers. hope we can get through this together, folks. Thanks so much for sticking with me so far. Smash that like button if you find this content useful for you. Let's now get into the mini tutorial portion of the video. So I have here the Dupe shades. I just put them in this empty Anastasia Beverly Hills quad that I have. And I still have the swatches on my arm. Looxi Beauty does work best with at least wetting your brush at the very least. And then these other shades just seem to perform just fine without it. So I thought what we might do is just a traditional, put a nice beautiful pink in the crease, maybe put this on the lid and then put this over top with some glitter glue, or maybe just spritz my brush and pick up some shadow that way and just kind of put it in over the top of it. So with a nice fluffy brush, just kind of, let me get my mirror situated here. Okay, just buffing and blending in some of that Mango Tango. No problems here whatsoever. Makeup Geek's formula is phenomenal if you guys haven't tried it yet. I think I will be trying the square formula this year, but I kind of want to wait until I can get all of the Matrix palettes and their foiled shadows before I give you guys a full, review. But don't worry, I know some of you guys have been asking about it. I'm wondering myself whether or not that's going to be, the case. But so far what I've seen is Makeup Geek's reformulation worked great. Okay, so we just got a nice wash of pink over the lids, looking nice and soft and sensual. Think it does carry through with Pat McGrath's vibes, so really truly liking that. Let's take a shader brush and just sweep a little of this Victorian Ruby. I want to see how this Coastal Scents shade, it's swatched beautifully on the lid. It does seem to have a little fallout there, but yeah, I think it's doing okay. I got this shade for 99 cents. They are now charging $2.95 for the lid. Okay, we're running into problems, folks. We are running into problems. So let me just go ahead and I did set my lids with translucent powder today, thinking that maybe that, well, I just didn't want creasing when I did my intro, but yeah, we're getting it to stick. I feel like there's a metallic bronzy shift. I don't think it's coming across on camera the same way, and I've got these lights here so that, the studio lights could be kind of blowing it out just a bit, but we have a Valentine-y romantic look. I think we're achieving it. All right, no additional product on my brush, going back in with that original brush I used and just blending out the edges soft. Okay, there we go. Did the other eye off camera real quick for you all, and let's go ahead and get into some Luxe Beauty. This one's gonna be a little trickier, folks. When you swatch it, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's a little bit more of a chunky formula when you get that duochrome action going on. So either A, we can take our finger, or B, we can use a brush and maybe wet it. So let's go ahead and try both of them, see what works the best. First, I'll take a packer shader brush, if you will, and pick some of the shade up on my brush if I can. Yep, it's a little bit crumbly, a little bit. Some of these shades are like that, but see, I've got some on there. Grab my favorite Korean brand. This is Naked. Here's to Beauty. So I don't know if they're Korean or Chinese. I can't remember. Anyways, I got it a while back. And just see if we can't get it. Ooh, that's a lot. That was a lot. Okay, just pack little packs. I've been feeling the halo eye lately, so let's continue that trend. Oh, I did have some fallout. And I feel a little more fallout, so when you're packing, let's go ahead and continue to keep the brush wet while we're packing. I think that's going to be essential for this to work with team brush. Now, if you're team finger, we could just spritz the brush, or spritz the finger. I'm just used to saying spritz the brush. And just pack. Yeah, see there, I don't get too much. It's a much softer application, to be 100% honest. So I picked up more and I'm going to pack. Oh, Oh yes, that's gorgeous as well. So if you are team finger, that's going to work for you, and if you're team brush, that works as well. Okay. With a little bit more of a defined pointed crease brush, this Makeup Geek, let's use that brown shade, that cool brown shade. Although I don't know if I would describe this Venetian or this burnt umber as a cool brown, and I don't see it in Pat McGrath swatches that it's cool. It comes off a little warmer, but it could be that she's using a filter perhaps, and maybe that's why. Okay, that looks beautiful as well, but I really wanted to stay with the pink vibe, so let's just do just a little on both sides, and then let's go back over with the... Okay, I'm gonna be back with the lashes on. I might smoke out the lower lash line depending on which lashes I go with, and I will be right back. We'll get into another dupe idea and some cost savings, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back with the completed look. I feel like this is a very beautiful, seductive, romantic look, perfect for a Valentine's dinner or date. I think we captured the essence of the Pat McGrath Labs Eternal Eden eyeshadows. I think we duped it all right. I don't think the formulas are ever going to be the same. So if Pat McGrath's formula is something that you gravitate towards, I would definitely say pick up the eyeshadow quad. Obviously, I'm feeling her vibes, and that's why I went ahead and duped it. Again, like I said, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So if you guys choose to pick up the Pat McGrath Labs quad, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. Also, I got to thinking a little bit. Before we get into the cost savings, I do want to talk a little bit about maybe perhaps another dupe that I've seen floating around. So if you guys have, I'm gonna bring her out, that's right, the Celestial Divinity eyeshadow palette, or maybe you were thinking of picking up the Celestial Divinity because this is something that's been on your wish list. So I saw a few shades in there that I thought might give off some good vibes. I would do this Cosmic shade, Venetian Orchid, then the Citronella, and then finally that, this is more warm, but she uses a brown tone matte shade, but Major Mahogany. Okay, so let's go ahead and swatch those on the back of my hand real quick and see how well they do. I know it's not really going to show the reflect all that well, but there's the first shade, then the first matte, that Venetian Orchid, Citronella, and then the Major Mahogany. So I don't know, I feel like it kind of dupes the vibes. It definitely dupes the vibes anyways, and it would give you Mother Pat's formula plus an additional, what, 14 shades to play with. So I definitely think you'd have a lot of fun if you decided to pick up that palette instead, and you'd only be spending, what, $12 more, because it's 78, 72, 78, but you get my drift. You'd be spending a little bit more money, but you'd also be getting quite a few more shades. So if that's something that you're interested, also leave a comment down below. So finally, my last step here is to give you guys my cost savings so far. So if you haven't been with me already, I am doing a little running balance of how much money I'm saving by not purchasing the palette. So I'm gonna add up the total of just the palette itself, no shipping, no taxes. You know, each company's different, so we can't really put that in there, but let's just go at base costs. If I purchase this palette, I'm going to take off another $58 on my savings counter, totaling it up to $146 to date. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe down below. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye!